hear the public's thoughts, and that's how you vote. We are the public, we represent the public, and before you vote, the public has a right to speak and to be heard. And to make a consideration on a vote without the public's hearing is a disservice to the public, and not how the Brown Act and public hearings are supposed to be carried. Thank you.
Are you talking,
I just wanted to ask a
speak on this
question,
one?
so I thought I'd put that in.
sure, so you want to speak on this item?
Yeah, it's A.
Yeah, it's 2A, so great, okay. It's your turn, ma'am.
Okay, Liz Davis. Hi, guys. I've met some of you. I have a question for clarification, and Jeremy, you can try to answer this. You're saying 30 minutes total throughout the meeting, or 3 minutes per agenda item, but 30 minutes, up to 30 minutes at the beginning of the meeting for just public forum? What was, so that was my question. I thought it was 30 minutes at the beginning if there was public comment in general, but they still had 3 minutes per agenda item?
It's 30 minutes total for public comment, including agenda items.
Okay.
And then depending on the number of speakers, you could have up to 3 minutes per item to speak, just depending on how many speakers there are and how many people.
So at a certain point, it possibly could cut off before agenda items are done.
Then you may have to shorten the amount of time you have to
So
speak.
you'd have to do math.
Yeah, the reason
Yeah, I
we're doing this, Liz,
understand.
is because, like, the first item is called to order, and they want to talk about 3 minutes,
Okay.
and so
got it.
it.
No, yeah,
So we feel like,
mine was clarification, just because
we
I
feel
wasn't
like
sure.
we're getting harassed,
Mhm.
and, I don't mind public comments, like if they have a legitimate public comment towards a legitimate item on the agenda. So, we're,
But everyone will be able to speak in a sense, because even if we limit it to just 1 minute per thing, up to 30 minutes, everyone will still speak on each agenda item, correct? So there's really no violation of the Brown Act. I've been in meetings, they've always had to, like school boards, Brown Act, all those things, they've always had to limit the amount of speaking depending on how many speakers there are to speak. And we usually can speak in every agenda item, so I don't see a problem with it, I was just
I'm
wanting
just clarifying
clarification.
why
Thank
we're
you.
doing it.
Yeah. There's-
Kathy.
Hi. Do we have to fill out a form to make a comment right now?
Yes.
Okay.
It's right back there, that's what I kind of got.
Okay, so next we have
We have,
Mike.
Mike.
I'd like to comment on that agenda one. My concern, I kind of echo the same sentiments as she mentioned. It appears that you're going to limit all public comments to 30 minutes, 3 minutes per person. So if 11 people show up, one person won't get to comment. And you're not letting us comment on every agenda item, because it appears that all the comments have to be made before the meeting for every 10 agenda items. And I've been to public meetings before. In fact, I was at a DRB meeting at the city of Laguna, and I listened to public comments on one agenda item, happened to be mine, for an hour and a half. One agenda item, hour and a half. So I think what is being proposed by limiting the entire audience to 30 minutes for 10 agenda items, that only gives the audience 3 minutes per agenda item. Not just one person, but the entire audience. 3 minutes for one agenda item. That's a Brown Act violation. So my comment is this should be handled just like any other government meeting, because this is a special government district. This isn't an HOA meeting. This is a special government district governed by the Brown Act. And the district attorney is already investigating Brown Act violations. Why give them one more to investigate?
Katie Schuler?
Kathy Schuler.
Kathy, I'm sorry, I missed
Hi.
your writing.
I didn't come to this meeting with the intention of making any comments, but regarding this limitation of making comments does seem very limited to me. Because it would limit to 10 people total for the entire meeting, no matter how many agenda items there were. That's all I wanna say.
And then we have an NA Michael.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared to actually speak on this one specifically, but after hearing a little bit more in regards to the objections of this group in regards to allowing the public to speak, it does seem that it is a little egregious to suggest that all public comments could be held at only 30 minutes, irrespective of if there's 100 people of the public that have comments that are relative to what's taking place here, or whether there's one person. And so I agree with other individuals who are opposing this particular suggestion. I think it's a violation of the public's trust in your organization to be able to manage this process. And I think it speaks of an initiative on your part to try and stymie the public's ability to comment on such items that they have an interest in, and more importantly, that they pay tax dollars towards funding this organization. So I'd like to just make that clear and concise in this particular meeting, that I do not agree with what you are suggesting. I'm a member of the public, and I find it not in the public's best interest, what you are suggesting. Thank you.
Can I ask a question again? Or do I need to fill out a thing?
You're supposed to fill out. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I'll fill it out while I ask, just to make things quick. So, well, I don't wanna violate anything. Hold on. There.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
You shouldn't have to fill out a card anyways, it's a public hearing.
I'll public hearings, I will teach you fill out cards. I don't think that's a problem. The options would be that we limit for agenda item, if there's a lot of people to speak, just a 1 minute comment, correct? I mean, if you're trying to make the, meeting efficient and have everyone's voice heard, am I getting an idea of how we're trying to
Well,
do things?
previous, we had, 2 people come to the meeting. And we had 11 items.
Yes,
And each person, whether they cared about that item or not, said 3 minutes worth on those items. So 33 minutes, 33 minutes, 60, it was an hour, in my opinion, it was a form of harassment. And so now we have more people so we can discuss, who wanna discuss maybe something, so we could alter that, and that's why we brought it up to the board to discuss.
yeah, I mean, I just know at previous meetings that what the board will do, typically not this board, but would say, because of the number of people speaking to the item, we're gonna only allow 1 minute per person. I mean, those are legal things under the Brown Act to be able to do. Thank you.
So the Brown Act allows you to set reasonable limits, not based on the content of the comments, but reasonable limits surrounding, public comment, so that the business of the district can be done. And so that is what this is proposing. If there was an event, a meeting at which you had 100 people present, you could change it from total of 30 minutes to another total. But if in those circumstances we described, Mr. President, where 2 commenters and they're each seeking to speak for half an hour, you would be able to hear their comments on all of the items on the agenda and then move on with the district's business.
Well, I think the one sentence that's clearly stated in our agenda here says the board at its discretion has the authority to extend the public comment if needed. So it's stated right there. If we have 100 people here, we're gonna have to do something different. We have 11 people here, to be fair, we'll have to do something different.
I think that generally, speakers want to talk about a subject. If they're pretty organized, they can pretty much get everything they want to have said in 3 minutes. I think that's a reasonable amount of time.
Are you guys allowing re-comments? I know some other people are allowed to re-comment, but are you allowing that for general public? Or just through our big board members?
You Should we,
It's up to you.
we have a vote,
It's up to you how you
I
want.
don't know that we had a motion.
or a
yet.
motion,
We don't have a
a motion?
We don't have a
what-
motion yet.
Okay, do you guys
So we
want to
can't
make a
vote yet.
motion?
If we make a motion based upon this, I think we have the discretion that's already been stated, so it covers us if we have to go extended.
Oh, yeah, if there was an evening where we had a big item that needed lots of input, or there were lots of people in attendance, you could certainly say, tonight, we're extending it from 30 minutes to whatever you determine to be appropriate.
So we can do it as an as-needed meeting.
Certainly.
If one person shows up, we know that we can condense it. If we have 100 people show up, we know that we can expand it.
Correct. But this would set 30 minutes for public comment as the standard, unless unusual circumstances were to arise.
I think that enables people to be concise and state what they want to state, and I think we hear what you just said. So everyone will get to speak and it will be fun.
You don't make a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the consideration of public forum time limits as written in our agenda.
So that would be that you approve setting a total time limit for public forum and public comment on agenda items to 30 minutes, as stated in the agenda.
Yes.
I second that.
Okay, motion and a second.
Yeah,
Judy motion.
yeah, John made a second.
John
Yeah,
I vote aye.
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 Passes unanimously.
Okay, so moving on to the next item, we have public forum. Public comments on all agenda items, as well as public comments not pertaining to agenda items, will be heard during the public forum period. Public comments are limited to 30 minutes total and 3 minutes per item. We have 3 comment cards here to state all items.
If there are others who wanted to speak during public comment on any item, please turn in your cards now, so that we make sure that we divide the time up appropriately among, or equally among everyone who wants to speak. Does anyone else want to speak? Okay, so that'll give a total of, just for 30 minutes, there's a total of 10 minutes for each commenter. And we'll start with David, that's what he said, I'm sorry.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to object to what you guys just ruled on. I think it's imperative that each member of the public gets to speak on each agenda item, not in just the public forum section, but on each agenda item. If you go to the City of Laguna Beach, if you go to other government organizations, they speak on an agenda item, they have public comment, and then they make a decision. For us to just sit here and talk about every single agenda item at the front end of the meeting, I think is a disservice to the public. Even though you guys just voted 4-0, we're missing one board member, but I think that that's a disservice to the community. Also, I think it's noted that commenter here behind me got to speak on multiple fronts, responding, getting answers. It's clear that's a favoritism to the board of Three Arch Bay. I think that's inappropriate. I think it should be what's afforded to Three Arch Bay board members should be afforded to all members of the public. I'm concerned about the CSD in various ways. Number one, residents, including myself, have been threatened access to governmental CSD provided recreational services if I don't comply, or if we don't comply with Three Arch Bay Private Association voluntary guidelines. Their lawyer, John McDowell, sent a letter threatening the use of these recreational services. Ms. Allison Burns has been copied on that email and responded that she can't respond until she's directed so by this board. But I think it's imperative that this board takes action, because the Three Arch Bay Association has a history of usurping powers of governmental authorities. Number one being the City of Laguna Beach. They hijack the code and state that they have governmental powers codified in the municipal code. If you read the actual municipal code, there's nothing codified to that extent. Now they've come and they've taken your CSD authority, and they're coming to the residents and saying, we're gonna block residents' recreational services. I looked at your guys' website, and I thank you and I applaud you for creating a website. That's something that I mentioned a few meetings ago. But it says on your website that you provide these recreational services. How is it that you guys are sitting here today as a board, a governmental agency, allow this private organization, might I add you, that is not a Davis Sterling Corporation by their own admission, that doesn't have CC&Rs, that comes and takes your authority, threatens homeowners, members of the public, access to these recreational services? The question remains, have you deputized this organization with these powers? You guys have the power, you're elected, you have a mandate, you have authority to tax, to provide services, to do all these things, yet it's the Three Arch Bay Association, with the help of Jeremy, who has a clear conflict of interest running both the CSD and the Three Arch Bay Association, knowingly threatening these services. This organization has a responsibility to protect its citizens, to protect the public, to protect members of our district, and not allow this organization, the Three Arch Bay Corporation, to threaten the use of these recreational services. I think it's important that this organization understands what's going on and stops any organization from falsely representing the CSD. And I'll talk about another issue that we've uncovered. I understand that many of you on the board didn't know what's going on, but this CSD signed an agreement with a private Three Arch Bay Association, paying half of its expenses. You guys are all members of the Three Arch Bay Association. You guys signed an agreement where you guys have a self-interest in that contract. That is a clear violation of the code. It's a clear violation of ethics. And before all these investigations come down, you guys should think about it. Is that the right thing to do? Is it the right thing to do to take public money and funnel it into this organization? Let's take Emerald Bank, which is a completely different CSD. They have a completely separate general manager for the very reason of conflict. Jeremy has a clear conflict running both. And I would like to clean this act up. I'm a vocal person against wrongdoing. I've been vocal about the Three Arch Bay Association and what they've done. This CSD is acting in tandem with the Three Arch Bay Association. And I think it's imperative that you guys stop. This is a government organization, and I respectfully ask that you guys clean it up and stop funneling the money to the Three Arch Bay Association. Thank you for your time.
Next is not applicable, Michael.
I would like to comment quickly again on the last agenda item, since I have 3 minutes and I'm not gonna take my 3 minutes on this particular, and I will also. I'm sorry?
You have 10.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, this was really the one area that I wanted to, the public forum is really the area that I have something to speak about. But the last agenda item where you voted, again, it strikes me as very concerning that even though you identify that you have flexibility to be able to nuance during a meeting, public commentary, whether greater or lesser, to just stymie it out of the gate, I think is a concern. And for the president of this board to suggest that he has been harassed by individuals of the public, you know, in today's society, there are terms being thrown about that are absolutely wholly unacceptable in regards to individuals communicating to one another. If individuals of the public want to communicate to a government organization, they have every right to be able to communicate clearly and effectively. And to be called a harasser, I find that wholly unacceptable. And I want that to be clearly identified, that a member of the public has identified that. I have a statement I'd like to read here regarding some of the things that I've come to understand which is going on here. I will begin and I will end, and then I will see if there's any response. I might have some other comments afterwards since I do have so much time afforded to me, but I will begin. Dear elected officials of the Three Arch Bay Community Services District, CSD, I'm a member of the public. It was brought to my attention on Nextdoor, as I have seen the contracts, that the CSD is paying the private Three Arch Bay Association over $900,000 of public tax dollars for half of Three Arch Bay's expenses, including recreational services such as parks, beach access, tennis courts, basketball courts, and various social events throughout the year. As a member of the public, I'm aware that the CSD, who manages these resources and facilities, ensures myself and other members of the public access to these government-provided resources, as afforded to me by the law. I hereby demand the code of the gate, so I may have full access to these resources, facilities, and social events that my tax dollars are paying for. Who do I see to get the code? I do expect to have an answer at some point to that question. Now, in accordance with some of the things I've read on Nextdoor, I do have another question. On your website, there was a phone number. I tried calling the number, and there was no answer. So when it says that I have a phone number to call to get answers to questions to, just like it appears right now, I don't get answers to questions. So that's a disappointment. And something else that is rather disturbing is, who is this Monica person I read about? It appears she has colluded with the city of Laguna Beach, allegedly perpetrate fraud against the city of Laguna Beach, the state of California. How much does this person make? Why is she in this position? Does she work for the CSD? I'm confused how the CSD has $500,000 in payroll, but no employees. This smells of corruption. And as a former speaker represented, and it has been clearly identified, there are numerous investigations going on. Not that which also includes the FPPC, which you are actually governed by. Forget whether or not you guys are actually in a position to be held criminally liable, along with the Three Arch Bay Association. If some of these things come to pass, you are to be held liable by the FPPC. So I encourage each and every one of you to take a hard look in the mirror, look at what's going on, and consider very seriously what's been going on and whether what continues to go on should be going on. Because from the things I'm reading on Nextdoor, it doesn't appear that there's a lot of good things going on. It appears that there's a lot of shenanigans going on. And as a member of the public, considering that this is a government-funded, organization, and my tax dollars do fund this, then these resources, I have every right to be participating in and enjoying with, just like Table Rock Beach, Thousand Steps Beach, West Beach, Alicia Beach, Treasure Island, any of the other public beaches in Laguna Beach that I am afforded my right to be able to participate in. I yield my time, and I thank you very much for your consideration.
Last one is not applicable, Mike.
That's me.